Good morning, Mr. Administrator. Good morning, Captain. What brings you to Washington, D.C.? On December 21, 2011, the Federal Aviation Administration released the final rule on flight crew member duty and rest requirements. Regretfully, your agency has decided to exempt cargo airlines from providing their flight crews with adequate rest. This negates the concept of one level of safety for Part 121 carriers prescribed by Congress in the Airline Safety and Federal Aviation Administration Extension Act of 2010. We have decided the enhanced crew duty and rest requirements will only apply to the passenger airlines because the cost to the cargo airlines far exceeds any benefit to society. So, you're saying that it is safe for a Boeing 747 cargo pilot to be on duty for nearly 30 hours at a time, but it is not safe for a passenger airline pilot, as if what is located behind the cockpit door has any bearing on pilot fatigue. No, I am not saying that it is safe at all. The cold reality is that the cost to industry corporations exceeds $300 million over the next 10 years of compliance. If these new rules prevent one fatal crash, we estimate only $20 to $32 million saved. So, then, it's all about the money. Yes. Son, let me educate you a little on how Washington works. Every corporation and interest group has attorneys who lobby politicians to get what they want. When hundreds of millions of dollars in corporate profits are at stake, the worker bees such as yourself get the short end of the stick. How is this even legal and not bribery? How do you figure one fatal cargo airplane crash only costs society anywhere from $20 to $32 million? Haven't you ever heard that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics? We can commission a legitimate study to conclude anything we needed to. In this case, we concluded that figure represents the cost to society of one fatal cargo plane crash, and your study came to that figure. Exactly how? We assumed that over the next 10 years, one tired flight crew will make an error causing a crash resulting in the loss of life to the crew and destruction of the aircraft. Based on the government's estimation of the value of one human life of $6.2 million, and either 2 or 3 pilots on board at the time of the crash, plus incidental costs, we figured that's close enough for government work. Are you okay, Captain? No. I really think your quote-unquote study really missed the mark here. Human factors play into at least 75% of all airplane crashes, and pilot fatigue plays a critical role in human factors. Given that cargo pilots are human and therefore subject to the same symptoms of fatigue as passenger airline pilots, and are frequently tasked to fly all night long on the backside of their body clocks, routinely crossing 8 or more time zones every couple of days, to every third world airport in the civilized and uncivilized world, it's frankly a huge stretch to assume only one fatigue-related crash among cargo airlines will occur during the next 10 years. In fact, it was the crash of an American cargo plane in Cuba that brought the whole issue of pilot fatigue to the forefront in the first place. Most of the public has never heard about that crash, or about the other DC-8 crash in Kansas City. Everybody has heard about Colgan 3407 and Comair 5191, because of the body count. According to the news media, if it bleeds, it leads. Rarely is a crash caused by a single thing. An accident is caused by a chain of events that almost always involves human error of some kind. We all know how good our judgment is when we are dog-tired. Studies have proven that after the end of a legal work shift for an international cargo pilot, human performance is about on par with an intoxicated person. We need to update the rules that are much more antiquated than the old passenger airline rules. I promise you that the crash of a heavy cargo jet will cost far more than $32 million, while any incremental cost of applying the new rules to the most profitable segment of the aviation industry would be easily passed along to the customer. Are you saying our study is messed up? Yes. Does your study factor in the cost of death of mechanics riding on board cargo planes? No. How about loadmasters? No. How about deadheading crew members, jump seaters, management personnel, aviation safety inspectors, and carriers. No, what about loss of life to people on the ground, the value of the lost aircraft, property damage to the cargo, property damage to ground structures, lawsuits, lost jobs, and lost business? Hell, what if a tired cargo pilot pulls out on a foggy runway by mistake, or deviates from his air traffic control clearance, causing a collision with a large passenger commercial jet and hundreds dead? What if a tired Boeing 747 cargo pilot makes a mistake and causes the jet to crash into a school, apartment complex, or a populated structure? None of those scenarios were factored into our cost estimates. You need to take another look at this cost-benefit analysis. Don't let their lobbyists convince you they cannot afford this. If people are willing to pay $20 to ship a 1-pound package, and you can put 250,000 pounds of cargo on a large jet, but people are only willing to pay $200 to put their 200-pound selves on an airplane, I think you can see where the profits lie. Your study estimated the cost to supplemental carriers would be astronomically higher than the passenger airline counterparts, largely based on bid pair construction and the availability of reserve crews. You concluded the availability of reserve crews would cause no additional labor hiring cost to the passenger airlines. The fact is that most ad hoc cargo pilots are treated as reserves, thus the bid pairings mean little if anything. We also looked at the collective bargaining agreements in force at the various cargo airlines. Union contracts don't have the force of federal regulations, and the fact is there are very few rest requirements that supplemental cargo airlines conducting international operations have to comply with. Like I said, you need to study this issue again. The last cost-benefit analysis has greatly overstated the costs while grossly understating the benefits of operating all Part 121 carriers under one level of safety. The National Transportation Safety Board agrees that you must tighten up duty and rest requirements for all of us. You need to do this not just to protect our safety, but to protect the safety of the public and those who depend on our nation's air transportation system. While I applaud you for directing improvements in passenger airline safety, us cargo pilots share the same airports and airspace with passenger planes, and a fatigued cargo crew could spell catastrophe for a lot more people than you considered in your cost-benefit analysis. Well, Captain, that is all the time I have for you today. Thank you for stopping by. The Federal Aviation Administration has already ruled on this matter. You're welcome to write your congressman and maybe they can force us to revisit this issue. Good day, sir.